How's it going, everybody? Playing some more Minishcap today, and today we're going to be going through the Temple of Droplets, but before we get to that, there's actually a heart piece that I probably should have picked up last video, and I will likely forget about it again if I don't get it now, so I'm just going to pick this up real quick, and then it gets on with the actual video, because temples in this game are not stuff that I want to commentate over live, because I would likely perish much more than I actually did here. So I don't really have too big of an opinion on ice temples in Zelda games. This one I don't mind too much. The ice block puzzles are slightly difficult. I did like to practice this one a few times beforehand because ice block puzzles and me don't get along very well. I've never liked them. I've not been very good at them. Ice puzzles in general, I'm just not a super big fan of. Like, I think there was one in Pokemon Black or maybe Black 2, one of the two, and I recall there being some sort of ice puzzle which I could not figure out by myself, and ice puzzles and me just don't get along, and I'll leave it with that. But the temple itself, I kind of enjoy it, though. I don't really understand where all these cracks are coming from, like the sunshine. I'm assuming it's just all part of that tiny hole, or I guess it's a big hole when we're Minish, but I don't know why everything is so small here. Unless the Minish built this place, mayhaps. But in the ice, I don't know. I don't know how that all works, how it's not all flooding, unless at one point it was some sort of water temple. Anyways, this ice block puzzle is pretty easy. You just push it down and then right. And then you'll get yourself a little key, which I don't know how it got frozen in this corner. But over time, I guess it just did above the ice somehow. And then you just push this block here, and then you can head back up the stairs. Now, one thing I probably should have done before coming to the Temple of Droplets, and I was even thinking about it when I first started recording this, I should have taken care of my seashells and checked if there's anything I need to spend rupees on, like kinstone pieces and whatnot. But unfortunately, I did not opt to spend anything, so there's gonna be some wastefulness. This is one of the kind of the pain in the butt puzzles here. I have to remember. I think you push the bottom one down and to the left, mayhaps. Took me a minute. I do like to practice the temples beforehand. With this one, I kind of did just some of the ice block puzzles a few times. Like, I created save points. And that was kind of what I did here. For the boss fight, I did not practice that at all, which I probably should have, because I ended up cutting a lot of it for this video. There's a lot of little cuts in the boss fight, just because it was taking me longer than I would have liked. And it was a horrendous little event. I think after playing the boss fight through a second time, maybe even third time, I must have beaten him on the GBA version, or the 3DS version. I think I can honestly say this temple's boss fight is probably my least favorite boss fight in the entire series. I mean, it is awful. Like, I would take any Zelda 1 boss fight over the Octorok boss fight here. It is horrendous. However, that is really the only bad thing I have to say about this dungeon. The ice block puzzles aren't really too difficult. I mean, there's only so many directions you can go with them before they get stuck. And the sliding floors are a bit annoying, yes, but everything else considered, it's a pretty cool dungeon. I mean, you got all these plants under the ice. It gives you a sense of mystery. Like, what was this place originally? Is it supposed to be frozen over? Or what happened, you know? And then there's the element, just right there. But unfortunately, we can't shoot an arrow into the ice to melt it. So the dungeon item here is actually pretty weird in my opinion. It's gonna be a spoiler alert. Skip ahead like 5 seconds, 20 seconds, you know, if you don't want to be spoiled, but who knows, I might still be talking about it by then. But it's actually a lantern, and it's such a weird dungeon item choice. I mean, I know in A Link to the Past you get it pretty early, and it's technically a dungeon item of sorts, although you do get the boomerang in Hyrule Castle as well, so I don't know, it just, out of all the things, like a fire rod would have been really cool, but no, they give you a little lantern, which I think is really weird. You know, it's an item. I guess I respect it for allowing Link to see in the dark. They've always had their love for the lanterns in Zelda games, so I guess why not incorporate it into the only unique GBA game. So, I'm trying to think, when was the last time we saw a lantern in a Zelda game? I don't think it's in Skyward Sword. I know it's in Twilight Princess. Was it Link Between Worlds the last time we saw it? Like, not counting remakes? I want to say that was the last time, which is weird to think about. I don't know. That's interesting though. And that little sign there, I guess, was talking about the bottom of the water right there, which it doesn't really look like a pot to me, but I guess it's supposed to be a pot. And you'll notice I wasn't too great with avoiding those spike traps, but they don't deal too much damage, so you don't really need to worry about them too much. I mean, there's other terrifying things that we're gonna have to worry about in this dungeon, but the spike things are probably the least of our concerns. Now we're gonna head through this door on the left, and then don't really be expecting too much in terms of unique, exciting enemies for this dungeon. I can't really think of anything that's new here off the top of my head. There's some newer flying bugs, but I think they're just color palette swaps. Like, I don't think they have really any attack changes. You know, that's kind of one of the weird things about Minishcap. The bosses and enemies are all just, like, super recycled. I guess you could say the same with any Zelda game, but I don't know, it just feels really noticeable here. Maybe that's just my opinion, but I don't know. I mean, I love Minishcap, but it's something about it is just weird in regards to the enemies. One thing I do like, though, is that they do give use, like, more than one use for the dungeon items. Like, we're still using this Gust Jar, and we're, what, 4 temples in already? I think that's a pretty cool detail. So, I think that this area is all kind of watery and ice, like icy. I wonder if it has anything to do with the sewers in the earlier parts of this game. Like, perhaps it's Hyrule's water system. I don't know, but I think it's maybe cool that they have some freezing ice water down here, you know? And then we got another one of these suckers, and this is not the last time this dungeon we're going to be seeing these guys. Because for some reason, there's 3 of them down here. But they still die pretty quickly, which is nice. And you can burn these cobwebs away if you want. They might give you some items, but honestly, you can just avoid them. Unless you want to clean up. Then you can go ahead and go for it. So, there's going to be one treasure chest later on that I'm going to be skipping, just because my rupees are already maxed out, and it would kind of be a waste to get it. And it might be seashells as well, so I can always come back here for it when I'm running low on seashells, but At the point I'm at now, getting it's just not gonna do anything. I'm trying to think of what Zelda game it was that... Was it Twilight Princess where you could only pick up a certain amount of rupees and then Link would just put it back in the chest if you didn't have room for it? Or was that Skyward Sword? I want to say it was Twilight Princess, but I'm not sure. So there's a chest there. I don't think we opened that one, and I believe there's one more that I don't get. And there is no heart pieces in this dungeon temple, so you don't need to worry about that at all. Don't think there's anything super important besides some of the rupees and seashells from the chest. I think this is the one of the rupee chests. Yeah, so 50 rupees there. Probably shouldn't open that one. A thing to notice, I don't know that these chests are required for 100% completion. I'll probably be coming back to get them at some point, just in case they are. You can kind of get the gist of where you get them all from just by watching this. So, if you want to pick them up, go for it. I don't think they're required for 100% completion, though. So, not like it's a necessity. Although, if you want your map to be, like, empty and not having the treasure chests on them anymore, then go ahead and go for it. Easy way to figure out this puzzle is that these lower 5 are all kind of strategically placed, versus this one's just kind of out in the open, and you can kind of tell what to do. Like, you can see this ice right there is directly below this top block, so you can push it down as soon as I ever get to pushing it down. And then you're going to push it right, and then down, then left, and then up. Now, this is the kind of ice block puzzle that I actually enjoy, because it's pretty clear on what you do, like, based on the placement of the other blocks. I don't know. I don't know what Zelda game's obsession with ice block puzzles are. I didn't like them in Snow Peak at all, which is why when I was doing my speedrun of that game at Zelda Dungeon, I made sure that I skipped the second one, because that one, it is terrible, and there's another one somewhere. I think it's for getting a heart piece. It's just out in Hyrule Field somewhere. It is the worst ice block puzzle ever. There's like, and I think there's 5 or 6 of them in a row, and it's ridiculous. I hate ice block puzzles, I really do. But when they're simple like these ones, then I don't mind them so much. Kinda wonder how a lily pad got down here, though. I know it's random, just going off ice block puzzles, but how did a lily pad get down here? Because I don't really remember them being in, like, Hylia. That chest on the left that I didn't get, I believe is just seashells? Or maybe it's rupees. It's one of the two. Pretty sure. I'll say it's nothing, like, majorly important. And I believe this is our mini-boss. Or one of them, I guess you could say. And then, the thing I learned to do with these guys is using the boomerang to take care of them is actually really easy, because then you can hit them multiple times, and then just keep stun knocking them, which I think I did later on in this video, or maybe later on in this fight even. Because then, when you push them away, you can just stun them again, and that makes them really easy to handle. Versus not having the boomerang kind of makes them a pain in the butt, especially when there's 3 of them. Well, you might be able to use bombs or arrows as well. I just found the boomerang method to work the best. And this is going to be our first little switch to start thawing out the element. And I thought I could push it by myself, but I didn't see this there right away, so make sure you charge yourself up and then create Link's little Lonkelganger. and then that's going to open up part of the sunlight. And then shine down. And now we have a new part of the temple we can access. One thing I don't really quite understand is how's the ice floor not melting? I mean, it just melted an entire chunk of like ice off to the sides. Like, you'd think everything would start thawing out, especially with these lit torches. Like, how hot are these guys? I don't know, it just doesn't make sense, but that's Zelda for you, you know? I'm glad that the blue and red kinstone pieces can be found in chests throughout the areas. Just because, like, getting them in the overworld, like, from bushes and whatnot, it's a real big pain. Like, they appear way less frequently than the green pieces. So it's always nice to get them. Now, I don't think this is the area. No, it must be below, but there's going to be a pot off to the right side, and I believe it has a kinstone piece in it. I think it might be a green piece, but I'm not 100% certain on that. But I'm pretty sure I remember in my first playthrough here that there was a kinstone piece in the pot in the like bottom right corner somewhere. I want to say it's in this room at the bottom, but we'll see. Yeah, I think it's off to the right there. And when I slashed the pot, it was a kinstone piece. Now, I don't know if that was just RNG or if that's set to be a kinstone piece every time. If you want to go ahead and look and see what it is, go for it, but apparently arrows can't break these pots, and your boomerang can't break the pots, and I couldn't time a bomb to blow up to break the pots either, so I probably could have broken it if I had bombed the top pot first, like threw the bomb onto the ice, but I wasn't thinking about that at the time, so I just gave up. And then we're getting pretty close to getting the dungeon item, thankfully. Just gotta do a little detour quick. And I kind of like this idea of like having to backtrack to use these switches to create platforms. It's not really utilized too many times in the game, but it is utilized here, so I do appreciate that aspect of it. Because now that we've pushed that switch, we can actually walk on these closed doors and then push this one, and then we just head back downstairs, and that is going to allow the sunlight to come all the way down, in which we can now get the treasure chest. So I just think that's a cool little gimmick. Puzzle, whatever you want to call it. And then there's our next key, which is now going to allow us to access the actual mini-boss fight, and then we're going to get ourselves a lantern, which is not super exciting, but, you know, it's a lantern, it's an item. I don't know if I specified this or not in my previous video, but the GSAC stands for Great Spin Attack Charge. Just means that we have the scroll that allows the spin attack to charge faster, in case anyone's wondering. And then here's going to be our mini-boss fight, which is actually going to be another Chew. And this one's a bit more of a pain than the first one. Might just be because I didn't really know how to fight it at first, but you can only suck him up when he's not electrocuting himself. But other than that, it's pretty much the same boss fight, just don't want to get electrocuted by him, and then just make sure you charge. And it's gotta be from the top, I believe, top or bottom, that you can suck him up. Maybe the sides too, I don't remember for sure. I did film this a little while ago. And then, excuse me, be careful that you don't get squished by him when he's jumping around. Because I did take quite a few hits here. And it is kind of easy to get stuck on it, unfortunately. But that's just Zelda for you. And you can tell I kind of had no idea how to fight this guy. Got him once. Now, I don't know if there's any way to do a double damage with the sword aside from those charms. Like, I don't think there's any moves that'll specifically double your damage. Maybe the spin attack will, but that takes like time to charge, and I don't think there is quick spins on this game. Unless you do a roll. I don't know how that quick spin works with the roll. And it's just going to be one more cycle. Like most Zelda bosses, it's the 3-cycle thing. It does get a little bit faster between the cycles, but it's not too difficult if you know what you're doing, which I didn't really know what I was doing. Got him down, just gotta wait for him to fall. And then you can just go ahead and slash away at this sucker. And that takes care of him. And then for some reason the music stops in this room, which I think it's just because the Miniboss music must have like set a flag up for the music to stop playing, but now that we're back in this room, we got the music back. And then we can finally melt all these little ice blocks. You might be able to melt the blocks that you can push around too, I'm not sure. Then you don't need to keep beating up every enemy you see, I just kind of had a habit of doing so. And this room's kind of a pain because you have to deal with these 3 pincher guys as well as lighting the torches so you can see. You don't need to light the torches, but it makes the fight a little bit easier because you can see what you're fighting. But you do have to keep switching between your items, which makes this a bit more difficult, unfortunately. But either way, once you get down to 2 of them, it's a bit easier. Unless the torches all go out again. And for some reason they don't last very long, so I don't quite understand how oil in the Zelda game works, or whatever they're whatever's used to light these. Because it doesn't work very well. And we got ourselves a kinstone piece here, which I didn't check which piece it was, hopefully it was something I didn't have a lot of. And then this room, there's going to be blocks all over, which you're going to have to light a torch that'll remove a certain block, and then you can continue on forward. Like that. Curious how speedrunners get through this temple. I mean, it seems like there's kind of a lot of pain-in-the-butt bosses here, or mini-bosses here. Especially those pincher guys. I don't really like them, but maybe there's a strategy to beating them that I'm not familiar with. Okay, there's going to be a bombable wall right there, and then that's going to give us a key. Unfortunately, it's nothing exciting, but I think there's probably going to be a few more bombable walls that lead to exciting things in this game, if we just take a little bit of time. And there's our key. And then we can make our way back to the previous room, and then we're gonna find ourselves getting closer to the boss fight, but not super close just yet. It is interesting that you get the boss key right away in this dungeon, which I don't think it's the only time it happens in the Zelda games, but it's pretty darn near one of the only times. It might have been a Link Between Worlds, or Link to the Past, where you get the boss key early in one of the dungeons, too. At least I think it was one of those games, maybe not. But I guess over time, or I don't know how that all works with the Zelda timeline. Maybe bosses just didn't need boss keys at certain points, like in the original Zelda. Like they just decided they were too cool for boss keys, but then they saw how powerful Link was, and then they were like, oh, we need boss keys. Although I think that appears Zelda 1 is like closer to the end of the timeline, so maybe they decided that boss keys just weren't worth it, because Link would still end up killing you no matter what. So they just decided the sooner they can take him on, the better, maybe, because they'd have a better chance of fighting him, versus when Link takes forever to get the boss key, they're just too tired and don't want to fight him anymore. And this is actually a room from earlier. We were on the right, or the left side earlier. And now we're on the right side of the room. Which I didn't realize at first when I first played this. I don't know what rupees those were. I'm assuming they were single rupees. Green rupees. And we have a little black puzzle here, which I screwed up the first time. That's okay, because if you need to reset the puzzle, you can just go back out the doorway, and then the puzzle's going to reset itself. Accidentally pushed it down too much there, so if you screw it up, just head back out the doorway. And unfortunately, you can't push this back up for some reason, which is really strange. I guess the flooring is just maybe too sticky on the bottom, that the block can't move anymore. I don't really know how that all works. Although that is weird, because we're going to be able to push that block right there on top back to the right, which is where it was previously. So what's the issue with this one in the middle then? I don't know. It doesn't make sense. And this is kind of another pain in the butt room to deal with. Because we have another stupid block puzzle. Excuse me. Although this one's not necessarily confusing, it's just irritating because you slide over the ice. I think this took me a few tries, but I really want to say there is a way that prevents you from sliding around the ice, but I don't remember how you do that. So you really gotta be careful on this ice, because even the slightest step just makes Link go all over the place, unfortunately. I don't think was a good fit for this game. I think that the sliding should have been toned down a little bit, if even being in this game at all. I don't like it, because here I was trying to test out how you make Link not slide around the ice. Because it was really a pain in the butt trying to maneuver this room. And there's not really anything that counters it. I thought there was something, but maybe there isn't. Maybe I'm thinking of Twilight Princess. But, I don't know, it's really irritating with this game. I probably should have pushed that block on the bottom down earlier, but it is what it is, you know? I still do manage to get it over here. I know I've been complaining a lot about this dungeon, but one of the things I do really like is the music. It's very, very relaxing. It does really well fit the Temple of Droplets. Which is kind of a weird name, though. Because this is all ice. It's not really droplets. And I know this room looks kind of scary, but it's not scary. See, here I kind of did it in a terrible little pattern, but the way you want to go is kind of along one entire row. Like, I'll show you guys in a second, because once I see the flames start going out, I'm like, I should try something different. So I just went outside, so all the flames went out real quick. But how you want to do this is just kind of go row by row, like so. And you cover everything in the fastest amount of time, and then everything stays lit, like that. I feel like part of my issues, I tend to make things more difficult than they need to be. Like something seems super difficult, but in reality, it's not. It's just me overthinking it. Thankfully, you don't have to fight these suckers again, because they're horrendous. And then it's going to be just about time to push that other lever to let more sunlight in. And these are the palette swaps I was talking about. I think these are the only new enemies for this dungeon. And that'll activate a little transporter back to the start of the dungeon. Which is kind of a weird placing, I think. Just where it is. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the only Zelda game that really gives you transporters in general. Like from the start of the dungeon to somewhere else. Although, Link Between Worlds, or excuse me, not Link Between Worlds, I guess the Game Boy Color games did too, though, didn't they? But they only give you one. And I didn't exactly fight these guys the greatest. I'm not really sure if there's a strategy for dealing with two of them. Perhaps there is? Maybe bombs? But it's kind of annoying when there's two rows of them. Just trying to hit wherever you can. So I probably should have been a little bit smarter with this, but, you know, I still managed to take care of him. I think it's just cobwebs that are a little annoying. Then once you got her down to one, it's pretty easy to take care of them at this point. Just want to make sure you slash them in an area where you can get to them to the tail quickly. And then there we go. Now we can access the switch. And like I said earlier, that treasure chest down there, it's either rupees or seashell. Maybe it's a kinstone piece too. I'm not sure, but I didn't really feel like going back to get it at the moment. But I'm pretty sure the chests aren't required for 100% completion. If they are, I'll include them in some other video at some point. Alternatively, you could just go back and get them now, just from the, I believe it's from the lily pad areas. And I really wonder how these torches aren't going out down here, because it's got to be freezing, you know? So, somehow that Octorok wasn't dead, even though it's probably been frozen for like 100 years. I don't really know how that works, but evidently you can freeze things in Zelda games, and they come back to life. I forget what that's called. It's got a name. But if you're low on hearts like I was, you can just slash these top pots up here and then keep going and leaving the room, and then they'll keep on coming back. So, the way this boss fight works, from what I can tell, is he's going to have Suck Attack and those boulder attacks. Now, with the cycles, it kind of mixes up the patterns, I think. But for the first cycle, it's pretty easy, just keep on hitting those boulders back to him. This is the pain in the butt part, because it is so difficult to get around this guy, and your Pegasus boots just don't really help too much. Maybe the first cycle, like you just saw there. But for the coming up cycles, it's just really annoying trying to get around him. Like, this whole boss fight, if I didn't I cut it like I did, it would have taken me like 10 minutes or so. That's how long it took me. Just because it is so annoying trying to get around him. Like, I was surprised that not many people have posted about this being the worst Zelda boss fight of all time. Like, in my opinion, it is. But, like, even I'm not good at Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and even those bosses are easier than this guy was. So I think the way that this cycle works is he shoots 2 boulders and then he sucks you in again. Which I didn't realize at first, fortunately. Or maybe it is only 1 boulder and then he sucks you in. Got him again there. And I kind of wonder how this guy keeps icing over. I wonder if over time he just mutated to be able to turn to ice into Octorok form. It's weird, like, how that works. But it is cool, a cool idea that we're killing the enemy with his own attacks. I don't see that too often. Well, I guess with Ganondorf you do, with the Dead Man's Volleyball. I'm not sure how he took the lights out either. I know I'm overthinking a lot of this stuff, but it just gets to me. Gotta say, I think some of these 2D Zelda boss fights went a little overkill in terms of what can all damage you and whatnot. Just too much stuff going on. But either way, I'd give the temple like a 6 out of 10, I think. Mostly for the music. So that is the Temple of Droplets. That was mostly ice. I don't really associate droplets with ice, but that is my least favorite temple in this game out of the way. So I'll probably be in a better mood in the upcoming videos. I really don't like this place. I mean, 6 out of 10, yeah, but just, that's me being generous, you know? But since we're done with the temple, you can just hover back up here, and then there's a little tiny cutscene that we're gonna get right here. So, next video, I believe I'm going to be heading into the graveyard. I might have some stuff to pick up on the side quests and whatnot, but we'll see. Either way, I want to thank you guys all for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you.